secured. There are no missing nuts or bolts. The hinge is not bent, broken, or cracked. And it is not leaking. Then we will step inside to do the interior inspection.
Yeah. I will. I just took two. I just cut it up. I'll send you both of them.
Entering the bus, the first thing I check is going to be my floor to make certain that it is clean and free of debris and tripping hazards. Sorry, cold. Once I've checked the floor to be certain that it's clean, free of debris and tripping hazards, I will check my handles and handrails. I want to make certain that they are properly mounted and secured, ceiling and floor. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. They're not missing any nuts or bolts. And then I'm going to come to my seats and check my seats, that they all are properly mounted and secured. With the bolts at floor level, the backs are secure against the walls. I check my handicap seat belts to be certain that they are not torn, worn, or frayed, and they do latch and unlatch properly. I'm going to check my emergency exits. I have 2 windows on this side and 3 on that side that are emergency exits. Plus I have 2 roof hatches, one in the rear and one up front. I want to make certain that these are accessible and that they function properly. If they need to be used, pull the handle down, push the window out, and the window should pop. We won't do that unless we're specifically told to do so, because they can be a bear to get back in the frame. But the thing of note is how they work. Pull the handle down, push it out, and the fact that when you open one of the emergency exits, it does set off a buzzer alarm. Let's see. Our overhead lights, the aisle lights, we check the lighting to make certain that everything is properly mounted and secured. Nothing is broken or cracked. The lights all are clean and working. Then we go to our emergency equipment. In the rear of the bus, in the panel above the back window, we have spare fuses. At the front of the bus, in the red box, and with the red box, we have at least three red reflective triangles. And then mounted securely behind the driver's seat, we have a fully charged 10 BC fire extinguisher. The next step would be our in-cab inspection. I need to take a sip of coffee before I start that. The first thing we do as soon as my seat hits this seat is check the seat belt. Make certain that it is not frayed, torn, or cut, and in good working condition. It latches securely and unlatches easily. Then I'm going to check my mirrors, both the one on the driver's side and the passenger side, to make certain that they are not broken or cracked. They are clean and they are adjusted for me, the driver, which they're not quite, but they're close. Then I'm going to come in and check the windshield. I want to make certain that there are no major chips and and it is not cracked or broken. There are no illegal stickers and nothing to obstruct the driver's field of view. We actually have zero air at all. We have no air pressure at all. At this point, I would ask the examiner, may I start the engine, please? And the examiner should say yes, go ahead. So, I'm going to start the engine. My low air buzzer is on. I'm going to let this build up air pressure while I check the rest of my API. The next thing that I would normally check after the windshield would be the wipers and washers. I don't have enough air pressure yet to operate the wipers because they are air activated. However, I can check my blades to make certain that they are snug against the window glass. They are not worn or free, and they're securely attached to the wiper arms. The washers do have fluid and spray properly. I'll have to wait until the air pressure builds up to make certain that the wiper arms do work properly. While waiting for that to happen, we'll go on. When I started the engine, the first thing I want to do is make certain that my ABS light did go out, which it did. I still have a low air alarm going on, but that will go off in a minute when the air builds up. Then I'm going to go and check my gauges. My first one would be my oil pressure gauge, which is one of the two back in the engine compartment. My low oil light did go out, and my oil pressure gauge should rise fairly quickly to an operating range around 40 psi. The next gauge would be my temperature gauge, my coolant temperature. Again, that gauge is back in the engine compartment. My hot temp light did go out, and my temperature, coolant temperature, should slowly rise to an operating range of 170 to 210 degrees. Then I'm going to check my air pressure gauge. It is building up towards the operating range of 120 to 140 psi. My voltmeter or ammeter should be showing my electrical charge between 24 and 28 amps. That's all of my gauges. My wipers might work. Quite enough yet. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to check my heat and defrost. My temperature and everything is already set. I'm going to check to make certain that both defrost and heat for the driver function at low, medium, and high lows. Which they do. Then I'm going to check my horn, make sure it works. And now I'm going to check my lighting indicators. I've set it to night run so that it will cause all of the lights to come on. My panel lights, which are the lights that light up the gauges, turn the switch and make certain that they dim and brighten properly. My left turn signal, my right turn signal, my four-way hazards all function properly. My low beam headlights are already on. My high beams function properly. So all of my lights work as they're supposed to. And I still don't have quite enough air pressure to make the wipers work. Dang. Yeah, I know, there's always something on these buses. At least it's not raining outside today. I had one day that we were out driving and it started to rain, and the passenger side wiper worked just fine, but we couldn't get the driver's side wiper on. So we had to cut our drive short. Alright, the next thing I would do would be to check both my parking and service brakes to make sure they're functioning properly. I check my parking brake by putting in gear with the parking brake set. Slowly release the brake pedal and let the bus pull in gear against the brake. We're not moving, that means the brake is working properly. Now I'm going to release Now I'm going to release that brake and check my service brake by moving forward, allowing it to get up to about 5 miles per hour, and then brake. It did not pull either to the right or the left. That indicates both the service brake is working properly and the brakes are well adjusted, not pulling to one side or the other. So next thing now, that completes my in-cab inspection. The next thing will be the brake check. For the beginning of the brake check, I'm going to set my brakes. And before I do anything, I am going to explain to the examiner what I am doing each step of the way. The first step is going to be assuring that my air compressor kicks in and builds air pressure up, and that at the appropriate level, the air governor will kick in and actually stop the compressor from building any further. To do that, I am going to fan the brakes down to approximately 90 psi, at which point the air compressor should come on and build the air pressure up to the proper range. When it reaches the proper level, the air governor should cut it off. We'll know that that's happened when we hear the governor make a little sound, kind of like a hiss, followed by a click. So I'm going to go ahead Now my air pressure should begin to climb. At this point, I will ask the examiner, may I assist the engine? Because my air compressor is gear driven, which means that the engine speed is driving it. The examiner will probably say, yes, go ahead. At that point, I will put it to fast idle and let my air pressure build. Now, just because I know that the little spit click sounds are quiet, as I see my needles approaching 120, I will take it off of fast idle so I can hear a little bit better. And there was the little disc clip. Alright, so I know that my governor cutoff at the proper level. The next step is going to be timing my brakes to make certain that I don't lose more than 3 psi of air pressure in 1 minute's time. To do that, I will turn off the engine. I'm going to turn it to night park and then back to night run in order to allow my lights and gauges to come back up. Once all of my lights and gauges have settled, I'm going to release my brake. And then I'm going to ask the examiner to time me while I hold the brake pedal down for 1 minute, during which time my needles should not move and I should not hear air leaking at a rate of more than 3 psi per minute. So I'll ask the examiner, will you time me please? The examiner will not give me a puppy. They'll pull up their stopwatch, clear it, and say, yes, go ahead. So when they say go, I depress the brake pedal and I keep it held down for 1 minute. And this will be the longest minute of your life. If your foot is not properly centered on the pedal, or if you've got a bad knee, that minute can be very, very long. But don't let up, and for goodness sake, don't do a momentary bobble where you let go of the pedal and then right back to it. If you let up pressure at all, the examiner will hear it, and that will fail your brake test. So we're at 45, 46, almost there. Stop. During this time, according to the gauge, I did not lose any air pressure. So that's a successful check. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fan the brakes down to approximately 60 psi, by which point my low air light and or alarm should engage. My low air light has come on. I hate when that happens. The next thing would be to continue fanning the brakes down to approximately 40 psi, by which point my emergency brakes should engage by sucking in the valve and engaging the brake. It's already done, as you just saw and heard, it popped. But for the purposes of the test, even if that happens, go ahead and fan the brakes on down a little ways. And when you're near 40, stop and tell the examiner, yes, my emergency brake did engage. And that completes your brake check. At which point, you ask the examiner, may I start the engine, please? And they will say, yes, please do, because it's freaking cold, and that's the only way we're going to get heat. There you go, that's it.